Okay. Good evening, and welcome to the council meeting of January 27th, 2020. I have 2027 here, but it's not 2027, it's 2025. I just went 2 years into our term. On behalf of council and staff, I would like to extend our deepest condolences to Councillor Maxwell and her family on the passing of her mother, Mrs. Maxwell, who was 101 years old. I've had the privilege of knowing Kathy for many years, and I've always admired her devotion and care for her mother, and our thoughts are with her at this difficult time. This meeting is being live streamed on the Town of Kentville's YouTube channel. I'll call this meeting to order. The chair notes that we do have quorum. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered here today on Mi'kma'ki, the unceded and ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This land is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship signed in 1726. We recognize and respect that we are all treaty people. We also wish to acknowledge and honor the significant contributions of people of African descent who have called Nova Scotia home for over 400 years. And we offer our deep gratitude to those ancestors of African descent who came before us and helped shape this land. Are there any conflict of interest issues that council should be made aware of before this meeting commences? There being none, we'll keep going. I do want to give Councillor Andrew the floor for a minute. He'd like to provide a statement. Councillor Andrew, the floor is yours. Okay.
Thank you. I'm going to read it just so I don't speak out of turn, because that's what it's about. During the January 13th meeting of CAC, I misspoke in reference to a presentation brought earlier in the meeting by Open Arms. During the period appropriate for debate, I used the word dishonest when my full intent was to describe the information presented as incomplete. Issues around housing and homelessness are being felt by all residents of Kentville, and we appreciate the work done by this and other service groups in our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Andrew. Council, you've been provided with a proposed agenda. CAO, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor Zabian, there are two changes.
Okay.
I would like to move 4A4 land easement request to in camera and label it 9B land.
Okay.
The legal issue that was there will not be coming forward for discussion tonight. And I would like to add 6B, appointment of Board of Police Commission member to the agenda.
Okay. Are there any other additions or deletions to the agenda? There being none, I would take someone, if someone would like to move that, and we will accept the proposed agenda. Councillor Baker and Deputy Mayor Kroll as the seconder. All those in favor? Those opposed? All right. You have a set of minutes in front of you from the November 25th, look, I got the wrong date again, 2024 meeting of council. If there's any changes to those, we'll take them now. If not, they'll be annotated into the minutes, so into our files rather. Any changes? Okay, we're good on that. So we have some recommendations here. I'll begin with the Environment Task Team members. At the December 9th, 2024 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Deputy Clerk Jennifer West presented the citizen appointments to the Environment Task Team, who will work on the Quest Net Zero Accelerator Program in 2025-2026. So the recommendation would be that Council approve the following citizen appointments to the Environment Task Team: William Marshall, Carrie Good, and Emma Vost. Someone could move that. Councillor Savage and Councillor Andrew. Is there any discussion on that? Ready for the question. That Council approve the following citizen appointments to the Environment Task Team: William Marshall, Carrie Good, and Emma Vost. And we're going to do this old school because we're having some technical issues here. So I'll just go around and ask each person their vote. So we'll start with Councillor Savage.
Yes.
Councillor Andrew.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Yes.
Councillor Baker.
Yes.
Councillor Hamilton.
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell. and I say yes too. Motion is carried. Might not do that again. The next recommendation comes from the December 9th meeting of Council Advisory Committee. Strategic Operations Coordinator Alicia Christie presented the GRID grant, which will support infrastructure projects for water, sewer, wastewater, stormwater management, and housing infrastructure. The recommendation would read that Council approve the submission of a funding application to the 25-26 Provincial Growth and Renewal for Infrastructure Development Program. If someone could move that. Councillor Savage and Councillor Maxwell. Is there any discussion on that? Not a word. So they're ready for the question. The council approved the submission of a funding application for the 2025 and 2026 Provincial Growth and Renewal for Infrastructure Development Program. Councillor Savage.
Yes.
Councillor Andrew. Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Yes.
Councillor Baker.
Yes.
Councillor Hamilton.
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell.
Yes.
And I say yes, the motion is carried. We're going to move on now to the December 9th meeting of Council Advisory Committee. Lorenzo Catarini gave a presentation about the activities and goals of the Annapolis Valley Mountain Bike Association. After the presentation, Mayor Andrew Zabian, that's me, explained that this grant request is more appropriately reviewed as part of the 25-26 budget review process. So the recommendation would read that Council review the Annapolis Valley Mountain Bike Association financial request during the development of the 2025-26 budgets. Someone could move that? Councillor Maxwell, Councillor Baker as the seconder. Is there any discussion on that? Moving right along, so you're ready for the question. That Council review the Annapolis Valley Mountain Bike Association financial request during the development of the 25-26 budgets. Councillor Savage. Yes, I'm just having fun. Councillor Andrew. Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Yes.
Councillor Baker.
Yes, sir.
Councillor Hamilton.
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell. And I say yes, the motion is carried. At the December 9th, 2024 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, during the closed session, details of a request for this is the one we just removed. We are moving right on. Sorry for that. At the January 13th, 2025 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Clean Foundation and Kentville Climate Coordinator Sophia Moraz gave a presentation about the town's application to become designated as a bird-friendly town through Nature Canada. The recommendation would read that Council approve the application for the town of Kentville to become designated as a bird-friendly town. Someone could move that. Councillor Hamilton, and a seconder, Councillor Baker. Is there any discussion on that? I didn't think so. The question would be that Council approve the application for the town of Kentville to become designated as a bird-friendly town. Councillor Savage.
Yes.
Councillor Andrew. Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Yes.
Councillor Baker.
Yes.
Councillor Hamilton. And Councillor Maxwell. And I say yes, the motion is carried. At the December 13th, 2025 meeting of Council, it was recommended that Council approve crow as the bird of the year for 2025. So the recommendation's not going to be a surprise that Council approve crow as bird of the year for 2025. If someone could move that. Deputy Mayor Kroll. Councillor Maxwell is a seconder. I don't think we need any discussion on that, but I have to ask, is there any discussion on that? Okay, so we're ready for the question. That Council approve crow as bird of the year for 2025. Councillor Savage.
Yes.
Councillor Andrew. Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Yes.
Councillor Baker.
Yes.
Councillor Hamilton. Councillor Maxwell. And I say yes, the motion is carried. At the January 13th, 2025 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Executive Director Leanne Jennings gave a presentation about the need for more support for the unhoused community. CEO Lawrence reviewed the request from Open Arms for $14,616. So the recommendation would read that Council approve funding for Open Arms for the 2025 project to reduce homelessness in Kentville of $14,616 contingent on approval by the County of Kings, Town of Berwick, and Town of Wolfville agreeing to this proposal. Moved by Councillor Savage and a seconder, Councillor Hamilton. Is there any discussion on this? There being none, are you ready for the question? The Council approved funding for Open Arms for the 2025 project to reduce homelessness in Kentville of $14,616 contingent on approval by the County of Kings, Town of Berwick, and Town of Wolfville agreeing to this proposal. Councillor Savage.
Yes.
Councillor Andrew.
No.
Deputy Mayor Kroll.
No.
Councillor Baker.
No.
Councillor Hamilton.
No.
Councillor Maxwell.
No.
And I say yes, motion failed. At the January 13th, 2025 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Director of Planning and Developments described the process of reviewing and approving a proposed development agreement. The recommendation would be that council direct the CAO to schedule a public information meeting on February 4th, 2025, regarding the development agreement for Vita Living Developments. If someone could move that. Deputy Mayor Kroll, and a seconder, Councillor Andrew. Is there any discussion on that? Oh, you guys are a quiet bunch tonight. Are you ready for the question? That council direct the CAO to schedule a public information meeting on February 4th, 2025, regarding the development agreement for Vita Living Developments. Councillor Savage.
Yes.
Councillor Andrew. Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Yes.
Councillor Baker. Councillor Hamilton. And Councillor Maxwell.
Yes.
And I say yes, motion passed. At the January 13th, 2025 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Director of Planning and Development described the purpose and value of Planning Advisory Committee and recommended that Kentville initiate this committee of council. So the motion would read that council approve the launch of a Planning Advisory Committee for the town of Kentville. Someone could move that?
So moved.
Councillor Baker and Councillor Maxwell as the seconder. Is there any discussion on that? There being none, are you ready for the question? That council approve the launch of a Planning Advisory Committee for the town of Kentville. Councillor Savage.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Yes. Councillor Andrew. Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Yes.
Councillor Baker. Councillor Hamilton. Councillor Maxwell.
Yes.
And I say yes, the motion is carried. At the January 13th meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Becca Craig, Active Living Community Coordinator, described the process of public engagement and strategy review for the town's active living strategy. So a motion would read that council approve the updated active living strategy 2025 to 2030. Someone could move that? Councillor Maxwell and Councillor Andrew is the seconder. Is there any discussion on that? There being none, are you ready for the question? The council approve the updated active living strategy from 2025 to 2030. Councillor Savage?
Yes.
Councillor Andrew? Deputy Mayor Kroll?
Yes.
Councillor Baker?
Yes.
Councillor Hamilton?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell?
Yes.
And I say yes, the motion is carried. Wow, we got through those. We're now going to delve into our council reports. So we will begin with Councillor Andrew. The floor is yours. Just let me, there you go.
Okay. I'm certainly open for comments on my report. I've really taken to heart the idea that we keep it very simple. And, but I'll just say with the under highlights, this month has included a number of discussions with citizens, merchants, and housing representatives who are concerned about our downtown. And I will reference the mayor's post that I thought was good in the treatment of the broader issues that people are talking about. Other communications have been with citizens anticipating the results of the storm water management study. No surprises there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Councillor Andrew on his report? All right, we'll move right along to Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mayor. Oh, do I need to turn this on, or?
I'm gonna, sorry, I forgot to turn you on.
That's okay.
You're live.
Okay. I'd like to shout out to Michelle Tucker, who spends a lot of time listening to the wonderful goings-on here, and all the other folks who have access through YouTube to the Kentville proceedings. It can be an entertaining evening, but it can also put one to sleep. I would just like to say that my report was a little bit off this time. I apologize. The highlights didn't come through to you, just timing issue. Most of my work around this last month has been around the Kentville Inclusion and Accessibility. Hang on a second, there's another A in there, Jennifer. Advisory Committee, thank you. And also known as Kayak. And what you'll see later in the agenda are 3 recommendations under new business concerning the accessibility plan for the town of Kentville. A possible Equity and Anti-Racism Committee is the 3rd item, and the middle item is a reference to town hall and recreation centers being included in update designs shall we say. So a lot of that will happen maybe under new business, but also I bring to you the links that are in my report for your future consideration. Not necessarily all done this week, but 2 weeks from now at February CAC, we'll be making a full presentation as to what the accessibility plan looks like. Give you a little bit more input, a little more time to take a look at it. But also like to draw the council's attention to the Annapolis Valley Regional Library's funding situation. As you will know, folks who do a great job there haven't really been paid a living wage. And as such, the library has voted to, in this fiscal year, to give their staff a $2 raise, which has resulted in a $137,000 shortfall. They're waiting on funding to be reassessed by the provincial government. So I strongly recommend that if you want your local library to stay active, that you use it, and let your provincial folks know that it is in need of support. That's all I have for right now. If you feel like going through my report and clicking on those links, you will find I think this is, the 2021 accessibility report. It's quite thick. There's a lot there. But you'll also find Kentville's draft 25-29 accessibility plan and a lovely report from staff from Deputy Clerk West on the timeline of the accessibility plan. So I recommend that reading for you because if we're going to live it, we better believe it. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Councillor Baker? And if they're in reference to the last three things, wait until we get to that part of the meeting. But if there's any other questions from his report, I'm sure he'd be ready to answer, willing to answer. All right, we'll move right along. Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I've divided my reports into 2 separate months, December 24 and January 25. In December, we were still having some update sessions with consultants and staff and council members, but it was also the start of our committee work. So I attended the Kentville Business Community meeting that month, Investment Advisory Committee, and the chair, Councillor Savage, will give a fulsome review of that meeting. We attended the first meeting for me in a long time, actually, for the Kentville Volunteer Fire Department. We've elected a chair and a vice chair of the chairs, John Andrews, sitting next to me, so he'll give more details on that report, that meeting that we attended in December. One of the fun things I did that I really enjoyed was attending the Kentville Police Service Holiday Brunch, and I had the best pancakes I've ever had at that meeting. So I will be attending that for every year to get my pancake fix. In January, we're down to committee work, and NSFM training occurred on the new code of conduct in the Old Orchard Inn on January the 20th. We had committee work for Investment Advisory Committee and Kentville Business Community, and the Joint Fire Services met as well on the 23rd of January. So it's been busy with committee work. That's my report.
Okay. Any questions for Deputy Mayor Kroll? Okay. Councillor Hamilton.
Oh, we're on. So my report is from November the 22nd to January the 20th. Just highlights from that report. There was a lot of, it was a busy time with orientation training, public engagement sessions, and lots of opportunities to meet up with residents. The committee work has started. We had the first meeting for the environmental task team, and William Marshall was elected the new chair. The people that are on that committee are very well versed in their fields, and I'm excited to work with them. We're going to be meeting bi-weekly as we move forward, so it's exciting to see what's happened. There was quite a bit of groundwork that was put into that by Deputy Clerk Jennifer West and Strategics Initiatives Alicia Christie. That was very much appreciated. Kings Point to Point, we're a funding partner with them alongside Wolfville, Berwick, and Kings County. This committee has faced significant challenges recently with the aftermath of the fire. There was some discussion with budgets just because of the fire and the impact that made on their operations, and it decreased their fundraising efforts. So the next meeting is actually scheduled to discuss budgets, but they also are feeling the pinch. So I just wondering, they might end up needing more money there as well, but that's to be determined. I also went to the library committee just as an alternate member, and I enjoyed going to that and learning a little bit about the library. They did a nice orientation. The police commission, we had our first session. There was 3 members for the new committee there. Councillor Savage and I were a part of that. Chief Marty Smith gave a great chief's report with all the events over the last few months. And there was, I was really impressed with the high level of interest for the applications for the police commission, and it made it a difficult decision. All the candidates had high qualifications. I didn't make it to the diversity and inclusion, but I'm just the alternate on that as well. And last but not least, it's not in my report, but I also went to the Regional Emergency Management meeting that was on January 22nd. It'll be included in my next report, but it was a good meeting and a good overview, so, and that's it.
Okay, I just have one question about the police commission. If you guys established who the chair is yet, or you're gonna wait until you have your
No,
full complement?
we're gonna wait until everybody's there.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Councillor Hamilton? Yeah, Councillor Andrew.
If I may,
Yes.
so is the number for police commission isn't increasing, it's just filling a gap, right?
Yeah, so we normally have 2 people that come from council, and then 2 citizen appointees, and then an appointee from the DOJ. So, and there's 1 committee member that's on that committee that their term is not done yet.
Yeah.
So we only needed 1 that was a council appointee.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you for your report. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. Since my last report, we have had our Christmas break and a CAC meeting. I also attended one Inclusion and Accessibility Committee meeting, and I missed the other one due to death in the family. I also attended an Annapolis Valley Trail Association meeting and a few community events, which are listed further along in my report. Councillor Baker has done a good job with presenting the most recent things that have happened with the Inclusion and Accessibility Committee, and I'll be looking forward to the next meeting there. The Annapolis Valley Trails Coalition, as I have reported previously, is kind of in a statutory position right now. It's in a change, transformation that's taking place, and so the meeting that was held in January was to review the history of the coalition and look at where it goes from this point onward. It has completed its mandate of trail building, and now it's mostly a mandate of operations and making sure the Harvest Moon Trail is highlighted as a major tourism attraction and is cohesive from end to end. The decision was made to have a facilitator from the province at our next meeting to help the coalition come up with next steps, and I have asked our recreation director to attend that with me because I think that he should see what's going on and actually have some input on that. The meetings are there and events. The one I will highlight is the Oakdean Park Garden Christmas event. It's the first year for that event, and they did an amazing job. There was performers, singers there. The park was lit up in Christmas lights. They had coffee and treats and hot chocolate, and it was just an amazing event. And I would encourage everyone to come out for that event next year, because I think they're planning on making it an annual thing. So that's my report. All the rest is listed there. Thank you.
Any questions for Councillor Maxwell? All right, Councillor Savage, you're up.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I neglected to, it's almost like December was gone. So I knew my last council meeting was at the end of November, but I didn't put a lot of what I did in December. But certainly, I had NSFM at the end of November. There were many Christmas seasonal events in the town of Kemptville, the month of December. And I know Deputy Mayor Kroll mentioned the Kemptville Police Service holiday brunch, which was well attended, and I believe Councillor Hamilton, the police chief said that they raised the most money this year that they had ever raised before, so it had a great attendance, which was nice to see. Just to go over a few of my committees, the Investment Advisory Committee, we met on the 8th, and the portfolios, you can read there, is just north of 14 million. Our money weighted against the balanced income CAD was 10.76 for 2024. Against 9.31. So we certainly punched above our weight. Their bonds didn't reprice, which certainly helped our yield on that. The IA has invested the equity portion of the fund into a core dividend equity model under a privately managed portfolio program, which is fitting with their investment policy statement. There was no shift in asset allocation, but rather a shift to a new managed account. So we now hold 35 positions in equity, which is nice. January the 16th was regional sewer, where we had an operations and compliance update, regional compliance report, and regional force main report update. We were scheduled to have supplemental budget updates, but they weren't available at that time due to some staff changeover. So it should be coming back to the committee in February 2025 in preparation for budgets in March. Councillor Hamilton talked about the Board of Police Commissioners. This was my first meeting of Board of Police Commissioners. It's very interesting. It'll be nice when we have a full complement on the board. Speaking of full complement, the chief had talked about that we are at full complement now with our Kemptville Police Force, and that's nice to see that there are no holes there now. Training and development was the recent code of conduct briefing that we received January 20th, and it was nice to see that this code of conduct will have teeth, and that is also fully accessible to the public to make any sort of code of conduct breaches. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions for Councillor Savage? Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Councillor Savage, for that. Just a quick question, and I may need to refer to the Director of Finance, but the investment portfolio, is that our reserve accounts, capital reserves and operating combined, or is that beyond that?
No, it's neither. So the perpetual fund is a fund that resulted from the sale of the Electric Commission back in.
Thank you.
I'm looking at that.
25 years, I think.
It's a special reserve fund. It is a special reserve fund.
Yes.
2000.
In
25, and I said 25,
Yes.
look.
I think what Councillor Baker's asking though, if it's our capital reserves and our operating reserves, but it's a separate fund.
Separate reserve.
Yeah, it's a separate reserve from that. all
And
of
does it
it.
have any allocation as far as intention?
So it has to be, so
10
it's a
million.
minimum of 10 million that we have to keep it.
Yeah.
And what we do on a per annum basis is, it used to be 460, but now it's 560. 460,000 per annum goes into our operating budget.
Okay,
And
thank you.
now the other 100,000 will be going directly to the operating budget, which will be then transferred into capital reserves.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's great. Good to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. You have your light on, you got your light on, right? Councillor Hamilton.
And just another question to follow up with that. I did look at the committees for that. The other people on the committee are just residents? Like it's you and Deb, or, sorry.
So myself
Deputy Mayor
and
Kroll.
Deputy Mayor Kroll is on there. The CAO sits on that committee as well, the Director of Finance, and there are 2 citizen appointees.
Okay.
Chris Maynard and Logan Morris, and then our IA certainly comes to every meeting on a per
Okay.
month basis.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to my report now. So we'll begin with, let's see, December 3rd, which was my birthday. I'm just going to throw that out there. We had micro talks here where we got some information on town's insurance policies. On the 4th, there was a meeting at the municipality of County of Kings where Dan Stovall presented a very detailed overview of REMO, which is the Regional Emergency Management Organization. December 5th, we had another presentation here at Town Hall on homelessness, and on the 5th as well was the arena presentation at the arena to kind of show what the potential of the future arena may look like. Staff did a great job with that, and we'll get a report, feedback, I guess, report presented to council soon. Lions Club breakfast on the 7th was really well attended. We're just going to highlight some of these. I was back at the municipality of the County of Kings on the 11th for another great session about all of our IMSA, is it Kings Transit, Valley Waste, Annapolis Valley Regional Library, and the Valley Wren. Great overview on these entities. I went to the Kentville Volunteer Fire Department's banquet on the 14th of December, and it was an honor to present awards on behalf of the town of Kentville to Jeffrey Barkhouse and Jason Rushton. Each received a 15-year service medal from the town of Kentville. We did a downtown video clip on the 16th. Lindsay and Amanda here helped out with that, and they did a great job. We went around to some of our merchants and services, and we didn't get them all, but we'll do another one soon. It was a lot of fun and great feedback from that. On the 18th, there was a Kings Transit and Valley Waste meeting, and they talked about their funding that they're going to receive, some of their baseline funding. And Valley Waste has approved changing, some of you may know about this, but they've approved changing the curbside collection services to include bi-weekly collection of 2 items that are bulky. So rather than have to wait for spring and fall pickup, it's going to be bi-weekly, 2 larger items. This is going to start, they're anticipating it to start in April of 2026, so it's way off, but it is going to happen. And then the holiday brunch, you guys have mentioned that. And I got to say, pancakes are usually dry, but those weren't dry, so I'll go there next year too. On the 29th, attended the funeral of the late Kentville councillor, Tony Bentley. And there was another IMSA committee meeting on the 15th of January, which was a very detailed tour of Valley Waste. And I would encourage any of you, if you want to go to Valley Waste, I'm sure we can set that up for you. They really show you every part of it and how it all works. On the 20th, the Code of Conduct session at the Old Orchard Inn. Nice to see that put together, but I left with a lot of questions. And then many engagement with citizens, and then of course every couple times a week I have to meet with these two here beside me, and we get all the hard work done behind the scenes, and that's my report for the month. Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Your Worship. The King's Transit, you note there the deficit anticipated for 24-25 is in the range of 197. I'm assuming that that's going to be absorbed by potentially us and County of Kings and other partners.
Yeah, you might want to speak to that, yeah.
Yes, that'll be distributed based on the funding formula for King's Transit, so we'll take, I think it's 20%, if I remember correctly, of that deficit will come back.
20% of the 197.
Same as the surplus is also dealt with the same way.
And so we have that in reserves, presumably?
We will, yes, we have sufficient money to cover that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, Councillor Baker.
My apologies, Mayor. This
Yeah.
isn't about your report. It's about a correction to my report, if you would. I misspoke. It was Michelle Parker, who is one of our biggest fans, not Michelle
Okay.
Tucker. So if the
Okay.
minutes could reflect that Michelle is watching us. Thank you.
Okay. And there might be a Michelle Tucker too that's a fan,
You-
right?
it should be.
You never know. So, our reports are now filed, so we will now move on to business arising from the minutes, and we're gonna move into second reading of the Heritage Properties Bylaw. Did you want to speak to that, or?
Yes, Your Worship, I will speak to it. I may look to assistance from yourself or Councillor Maxwell or the Deputy Clerk. This started in 2022 and I didn't come until 2024, so there may be pieces that I wasn't here for. It's been a long and winding road if I had to characterize it by a song, but hopefully we're closer to the end than the beginning. The Heritage Property Bylaw, first reading occurred on October 12th, 2024, and second reading was scheduled for November 25th, 2024, but was postponed because we couldn't make the advertising deadlines. With no council meeting in December, The second reading was scheduled for tonight, and I can confirm that proper advertising within the timeline where it was done. The bylaw itself establishes and maintains a town registry of heritage property. It establishes the terms of reference for the Heritage Advisory Committee, sets out that the committee will have 3 citizen members, 2 council members, the CAO and support staff. Internally, we've had discussions, and a lot of the administrative work will rest with planning and development. There's symmetries in that department. Provides oversight recommendations regarding heritage property registration, but it does operate as an advisory to council, and it provides a process for establishing and maintaining a registration of heritage properties. Properties may be identified for registration by either the committee going to a property owner or by the owner himself making application. While the committee may recommend properties for heritage registration, the owner has the right to refuse should they choose to do so. That's an overview of the bylaw. Happy to try and answer questions or defer it to one of my esteemed colleagues.
You did a great job with that. Are there any questions? Councillor Baker.
So once a property is registered and is accepted into the registry, there were notes about changes that might be made by the owner to the property. How is that to unfold if they are counter to its heritage designation?
So they would make application to the committee for those changes, and then the committee would, and I want to make sure I'm on the right page. The committee would review it and make recommendation to council, and then it would be determined as to whether it would be allowed or not. And there are fines that are established in this as well. The one out for a property owner is to say, I don't want my property to be registered. It doesn't provide an option to just rescind the designation without going through council. So once you're set up as a registered heritage property, then then you have to comply by the rules of the bylaw.
Does the MGA set out the fines, or are those?
I would look to one of my colleagues for.
I don't believe, there's no fines set out there. I know that.
Those fines would be set.
By council, yeah.
Okay, so they'd be enforceable under the tax law? Sorry, Councillor Maxwell.
Yeah, just to say that.
Hold on, council, I'm going to give you the hot mic, okay.
Yeah. In addition to what the CAO has said, basically what we were looking to do is protect the facade of buildings more so than the interiors of buildings. So, I think we want to make sure that, and I'll use Main Street Station as an example, that a developer doesn't just come in and tear it down and without, just come in and get a permit and go and tear it down. So under this bylaw, they would have to, once we declare it a heritage property, they would have to come in and tell us they don't want it, and they have to go through a process, so that at least we can inform the public that this is what, the intended is going to happen to this building. So it's kind of stop just the destruction of heritage buildings within our town. And that has gone on for a long time, and we've lost a lot here. And so it's just kind of to do that. It's not really to prevent people from fixing up their properties or anything like that. The intention is to maintain the facade of it, much like they're doing in Halifax.
And I will say too, when we worked on this at committee level, we did use, we looked at a lot of other units and we kind of mimicked what they do. So we're kind of in line where a lot of other towns and municipalities are.
Thank you.
Do you want to add something else, or?
Not unless he's looking for further.
No, that's fine.
Very
Thank you.
good. Okay, I guess there's no more mics on. I'm going to put the recommendation into a motion, and it would read that council approves second reading of the heritage bylaw. Someone could move that? Deputy Mayor Kroll, Councillor Maxwell. Is there any discussion on that? Ready for the question. That council approves second reading of the heritage bylaw. Councillor Savage, Councillor Andrew, Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Yes.
Councillor Baker, Councillor Hamilton, Councillor Maxwell.
Yes.
And I say yes, the motion is carried. So we have 3 items under new business. One of them, did you want to speak to these, Counselor Baker, or?
If one at a time?
Yes, we're gonna do one at a time,
Yeah,
so.
and I would look to the deputy clerk also for assistance.
Yes, yeah. Oops. Okay. Oh, okay. The floor is yours.
Thank you. The first item is about the draft 25-29 accessibility access plan. And if I may, I have notes from a discussion here somewhere. I was ready, and then it happened. There we go. So, my understanding is that there was an ad hoc accessibility committee put together in the early 20s. And they developed, along.
1920s? No.
Yeah,
Sorry.
sorry, not 2027, sir, we're moving too fast. And then, the committee engaged a consultant through COVID. I'm giving you the eye, yes, thank you. And then the, consultant and the advisory committee prepared this, this plan, which reads the Accessibility Action Plan prepared for Kentville Accessibility Advisory Committee, March 2021. And it's on the webpage. It's under the link under my report, but it's also on the webpage. And it's quite extensive, and it had, if I believe, 14 goals, 15 goals, many of which are coming to fruition. A lot of them are in progress, because it's always a progressive thing. And skipping ahead quickly, because that plan needed to be renewed, I believe, by provincial mandate, there was a requirement for the committee to bring forward the next phase of that plan. You'll see in your meeting package the 25-29. This has an evaluation. It's well put together, by the way. I encourage you to read it. It has an evaluation of those 14 goals and where they are progress-wise. And it also has 5 new goals, Kentville's 5 goals of inclusion and accessibility. And they're very general, but if you go and drill down to each page, you'll find, the objective, activities, outcomes, and the evaluation. Sorry, folks. So I recommend to you that reading, so we may have a full presentation on it at February CAC. And that is kind of the new business for that, unless there are questions about what needs to be done there.
Okay, thanks for that.
Can I move to item 2?
No, I think we'll do each one at a time.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just want to thank you and all the members of that committee for their hard work. I know committee works a lot of work, and it's nice to see the outcome from that. I think what I would suggest, and you just said it as well, is perhaps we'll schedule a presentation at CAC at either the next one or when we can get one in, I guess. Would probably make more sense and get a fulsome presentation of this new adoption or plan, I guess.
It also allows, if you make, Mr. Mayor,
Mhm.
it allows the council to see it, digest it, but also
Mhm.
provide their input to it.
For sure.
Because it's council's plan.
Yep.
Right?
So anybody willing to move that? Counselor Andrew, and a seconder?
I'll second.
Okay, Counselor Maxwell. Is there any discussion on? And the motion would read that council approve, direct the staff to present more detailed information about the 2025 Accessibility Action Plan at the February meeting of CAC. You're still good with moving that?
Yes.
Yeah, and you're still good with seconding it? Counselor Andrew and Counselor Maxwell for a seconder. Is there any discussion on that? No discussion? So the motion would read that council directs staff to present more detailed information about the 2025 Accessibility Action Plan at the February meeting of CAC. Counselor Savage.
Yes.
Counselor Andrew.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
Counselor Hamilton. Counselor Maxwell.
Yes.
And I say yes, the motion is carried. All right, Counselor Baker, you're up next with your next report.
you.
Yeah.
There have been discussions about town hall accessibility updates. And I believe short-term updates have been done before our tenure here. The kayak, the King's Inclusion and Accessibility Advisory Committee would bring to your consideration the fact that when there was consideration for the town hall to be redesigned for accessibility issues, that it only included the two town hall buildings and didn't include the rec center. Going forward, the committee would ask that all three buildings on this site be considered in any redesign for accessibility purposes. So not just the two buildings, but extension. Now, CAO, do you want to talk if there's any cost involved in that? Or are we going to talk about that at?
Baker, Councillor Baker?
Yes.
Just kind of stick to your report and then
Okay.
I'll take
That's
the
where I'm
lead
at.
from there.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay, you're done with that?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. So thank you for that, Councillor Baker. Typically, something like that, we would address at budget time as we prepare them. And I guess I'll leave it to council, but my thoughts would be to consider this another engagement study, I guess, at budget time and see where we're at. But I guess if anyone has a suggestion, Councillor Savage?
Thank you, Worship.
Oops.
I know that it wasn't under CAO Lawrence's time. I think it was CAO Trope, and this would have been the previous council where we had a meeting and it was presented to us, a report was presented to us on town hall, and then we had discussions around if we would retrofit town hall or if we would build a new building or what the considerations were. There was some sort of a study done, and I don't recall what it was.
Yeah, and see, I think CAO Lawrence was here for that, weren't you?
No,
I didn't think it was.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. We have had a couple of studies done on town hall through various committee work. The regional and now in-house climate change and sustainability staff have been working on greenhouse gas emissions regionally, but also building by building for town hall. So we have a very detailed energy efficiency audit for town hall. We received funding to focus and do a very detailed report on one building, and this was the one that we focused on. So we do have a report, and I believe it's from 2022. One's from 22 and one's from 23, so we do have very strong information on how to improve the energy efficiency of this building. So that's the first report. The second report, obviously, from this committee was a deep audit of accessibility and how to improve accessibility using as standards of the Rick Hansen Foundation model for just the town hall building. So we have those two that are helping to inform the work that needs to be done. That's in addition to any design and function and all that stuff, but just those two particular items. I have made them available to council, and if you would like them presented formally to council, if that is the wish of council, we can also do that. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
You got more? Oh. So for clarity, the one in 2022 was the energy efficiency one, and then the other one was accessibility, or?
There was a 22 and a 23.
Okay.
And one was accessibility and one was energy.
Okay.
Yes,
Two separate
thanks.
ones, though.
Yes,
Yeah,
they're
okay.
very
Okay.
different consultants.
Because when it was presented to council, and it was, I think it was done at like a lunch meeting or something like that, I don't remember sort of where we left off with it, or if we were just gonna point it to budget time, or, I don't have it. I see Councillor Maxwell has her light on, she probably remembers.
You know what, it was in the
She
last,
probably does, I don't.
it was in the last year, because you were up on Zoom, you zoomed in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm getting old, so, Councillor Maxwell.
Yes, thank you. I do recall that both of those meetings that took place. I believe the first one was an accessibility one around the Rick Hansen protocol, and the second one was the energy audit. But we're looking at adding the recreation center on to be assessed. We do have a staff member here qualified to assess under the Rick Hansen protocols.
But that's completed.
And that one is for the recreation center?
Yes, I believe it did include the recreation center.
Okay. So what would we need for this you know, for this, because we have the accessibility, what needs to be done over there for accessibility. So what more would we need to do for this one? What
So-
we're looking at today?
If I may.
Yes, go ahead.
So this isn't specifically a request, a budgetary or a project
No.
request of council at this time.
Yeah.
I think the next steps could be to further look into options available for this site, but I'll pass it over to the CAO.
So, in budget last year, Mayor Zabian, council passed $50,000 to have a study that looked at the current town hall site. And the ask was that it include engagement session with council and staff and engagement with the community to see what it would look like. When we had discussions internally with Director Bell and others, it was realized that the $50,000 wouldn't be able to provide that level of study with engagement. So we left the money came from reserves, we didn't use it, we left it in the reserves with the intention to go back to council with a more fulsome understanding of where a budget for a design that included engagement would fall. And the discussion was also, if we were doing the building, the town hall building, why wouldn't we include the recreation component? There may eventually be a time where you have to build out on the upstairs for, if the potential growth in planning comes in as anticipated. We really don't have any room up here to increase staffing offices. There's also the accessibility side of it. We think that there's a path to have a fully accessible upstairs on the rec center and accessible washrooms. But again, it only makes sense to look at everything in total as to where you're going to be, not in the next 3 years, but in the next 20 to 25 years, and look at a design on that sort of a time frame. So the request was, if we're going to look at something, we might as well look at our full facility and how it could be utilized. And we see the engagement as being critical. We want to have engagement with council, and we want to have engagement with community. But I would tend to agree that the time to discuss that would be more around budget, when you can see how that fits in with the overall priorities of council and administration.
Okay, so, yeah.
Just hold on one sec. I think, was your light still on? Or-
Yeah.
Okay.
So my question is then, because we have somebody that can do that assessment, what we're looking at now would be design. That's where we're going, is the next step would be design. That
Well-
was my question. So is that correct?
I keep starting before I should, I
Yeah,
apologize.
okay.
What senior leadership talked about were designs, that we would engage community, and we would look at 2 or 3, if I remember correctly, potential designs for what it could look like to bring back to council for consideration. And that would be as far as we would see us going in this current budget year.
After engagement.
Great.
The engagement was included regardless, yes.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Councillor Hamilton.
So this attachment, it was actually attached, I think, in your report. It was down in the bottom. I think that is from the 2023, and it goes through the whole town hall. Is that the one that you're talking, is the 23? Okay. It was difficult to read, but because it's just so, it's extensive and it shows everything here.
It seems to be just notes. Seems to be just.
So it's attached to his report.
Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Worship. So, CEO Lawrence, if I'm understanding you correctly, because that's what I remembered back to, that we as a council had directed staff to move forward with this report, and it was in that vicinity of $50,000. And then I don't know that we learned anything after that, that was the case, that it couldn't be done for the $50,000. It was going to be substantially more. So hearing what Councillor Maxwell says about the person that's equipped to do it, which I'm assuming is Kirsten, because she's Rick Hansen certified, right? So that would mean we wouldn't have to pay any of these funds out that we were talking about before?
We're not looking to do another assessment of accessibility. That portion is complete.
I think this piece, if I understood, would be to get kind of a design and see what the whole thing looks like
On
Yeah,
this,
CAO.
on this
The whole-
building?
Well, probably combined, probably,
Okay.
yeah.
So those are all the inputs that will go into this study. It would be the reports that were done on energy efficiency. There's a lot of potential funding avenues available now for green energy. It would be the accessibility issues, it would be the engagement, and then from all of that, the intent would be to get 2 or 3 concept designs as to what could be done with the facilities. Right now, we know where we're deficient and what the standards are and everything else, but it's never been applied to actually produce an architectural rendering.
So CAO, the deficiency report, just so I can remember, is just on this building, or did they include the rec? Do you remember?
The energy efficiency
Yeah.
audit, I believe it was just on this
I
building.
think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think it was the rec center as well.
The whole thing?
I'll confirm that. No? That one has the rec center. Yeah, I'll confirm that and I'll send it
Okay.
out to council.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep.
So, yeah, so Deputy Mayor Kroll, sorry.
My question was answered, actually, when CAO Lawrence was talking.
Okay. All right, so, I think based on what we've heard and what CAO Lawrence has said as well, probably would be good to have this engagement, I guess, or discuss it during budget time. Somebody would, if anyone wants to move that, Councillor Baker, and a seconder.
What was the motion?
The motion would be that council consider an engagement and design study to be undertaken during the budget deliberation for the 25-26 year. Moved by Deputy Mayor Kroll, or no, it was Councillor Baker, and Councillor Andrew was the seconder.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion on that? There being none, are you ready for the question? Council consider an engagement and design study to be undertaken during the budget deliberations of the 25-26 year. Councillor Savage. Yes. Councillor Andrew. Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Yes.
Councillor Baker.
Yes.
Councillor Hamilton.
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell.
Yes.
And I say yes, the motion is carried. We have one more recommendation from you, Councillor Baker. You're hot now.
Thank you. And actually, I bring this to you from the new chair of the Kentville Inclusion and Access Advisory Committee, Nicole Ross. I'm going to read it if you would permit.
Sure.
Mayor and Council and CAO. In January 2024, the Kentville Inclusion and Access Advisory Committee launched a task team to explore the diversity in the town of Kentville. The Diversity and Belonging Task Team has been meeting since April 2024 and has a mandate to examine whether Black, Indigenous, and people of color feel represented and welcome at Town Hall. In the fall of 2024, the provincial government announced a framework to support municipalities in creating equity and anti-racism plans by April 2025. This was prescribed to municipalities and became the focus of much conversation at the Diversity and Belonging Task Team. The town of Kentville recognizes that the task team may be better able to discuss and assist in creating this plan as a committee of council. Following the guidelines for creating this plan, the new committee would have a mandate to create and support the implementation of the Equity and Anti-Racism Plan, or Diversity and Belonging Plan. Therefore, the Kentville Inclusion and Access Advisory Committee recommend that Council create a Diversity and Belonging Committee as a committee of a council with a mandate as outlined by the province to support the creation and implementation of a Diversity and Belonging Plan. And then it continues, they would recommend and further that council direct staff to revise policy G57, committees of council to include this committee for review by council in March 2025. So that's from Chair Ross. And that's about all.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Baker. Are there any questions on Councillor Baker's recommendation? Councillor Andrew.
So this will divide up the responsibilities into two separate committees?
That's I believe so, yes.
Okay,
That's the
thank you.
Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the Diversity and Belonging Task Team, and then I'll go forward to in the fall of 2024, where the provincial government announced a framework to support municipalities. Through the chair to
Yes.
Councillor Baker, or maybe through the CAO, I don't know. So what staff members have been working with this diversity and belonging task team?
So I'll take a shot at it, and I expect I'll miss one, but I believe that, I'm gonna use names because I'm terrible with titles.
Sure, go ahead.
I know that Roxy has been involved with it, Becca's been involved with it, Laura's been involved with it, Alicia's been involved with it, and Jennifer has certainly been involved with it. I'm not sure if there's others that have,
I think that covers it.
So, and understanding that this is important work and that, and I know in chatting with Deputy Clerk Jennifer at NSFM, this came up at NSFM about having this done by April of 2025. Does it necessarily have to be a committee of council? Could this be something separate that the folks are working on, but not necessarily a committee of council? Is it going to be something
Yes, go
that's
ahead.
ongoing?
so I've had discussions with Councillor Baker, I've had discussions with the Strategic Initiative Coordinator and with the Deputy Clerk, and we've cheated a little bit, so I apologize for that. But it would be good to have a staff report on what other similar sized towns are doing as far as meeting the mandate.
Yeah.
And we would be prepared to bring that to February CAC if the agenda will hold it. But that is subject to council. You have a recommendation on the floor. As you would have heard at NSFM, municipalities seem to be at different points in
I
different
would
places in
suggest,
time. I'm usually pretty consistent with the 6 towns that I used to compare us to, and
Okay.
if you asked me to list them, I'm sure I would get 5 out of 6. But
Okay, no, that's helpful, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. Just to elaborate, I'm on this inclusion and accessibility committee, and the task team we're talking about is a subdivision of the inclusion and accessibility. And they felt, I believe, that what they had asked and what they promote would be seen as being more important if they were their own committee of council rather than being just a task team or a part of another one. And that it's a big enough topic area that they would like to have that status of being a committee of council rather than just a task team. And that was part of the discussion originally. I missed the other discussion, but I think that's what they would like to do, and we are ahead of the curve. And, we usually are in Kentville, ahead of the curve with most of the province. And so I think if you go and look, most of the province is probably behind us in this area. And so you're going to find they probably don't have something like this set up. But that's why they, and I agree, I think it's a big enough area that it should be given the importance of being a committee of council. Thank you.
Could I maybe just follow
Yes,
up on that?
go ahead.
The task team, sorry, I just put a lozenge in my mouth. The task team original mandate was to explore how the BIPOC community is received and welcomed by the town, and it did not include review and assessment of the equity plan. So the development of the task team happened before the provincial mandate of an equity plan. I'm looking to members of the audience who are here today. Thank you very much for coming today. So the timing was a little bit offset between when the task team was formed and when the province announced this mandate for municipalities to create their own equity and diversity plan. So part of it is also that their mandate does not allow them officially to work on this kind of plan development. I just wanted to add that.
Oops. Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Yes, hello. Could this committee be an ad hoc committee of council just working on this one project, or is it going to be considered a permanent committee of council?
So I would look at that more as a task force sort of style, whether the task force reports directly to council with a time frame and a mandate and then folds into the accessibility committee once the plan is done or not. That is one of the options, yes.
Okay.
So, council, I'm just, I've listened to all of you, and based on the advice of CAO, it might be worth it to take his advice just this one time, right? Where he said we could direct him to get a report back on what other units are doing, and is that kind of,
We would have that report, your worship, for February CAC. It's not stating what we have to do. Kentville can chart its own course, but it at least makes you aware of what is being done out there as you're making the decision in which direction to go.
okay. Anybody want to move that we direct staff to provide a report with more details on the proposal, this proposal? Councillor Savage and Councillor Baker for the seconder. Is there any discussion on that? Ready for the question? That council directs staff to provide a report with more details on this proposal. Councillor Savage. Yes. Councillor Andrew. Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Yes.
Councillor Baker.
Yes.
Councillor Hamilton. Yes. Councillor Maxwell. Yes. And I say yes, the motion is carried. So we now have a recommendation from the Board of Police Commissions, and I'm going to give the floor to Councillor Hamilton.
So I'm just going to read what I got here. The Board of Police Commissioners bylaw section states that the board will consist of 2 residents appointed by resolution of council who are neither members of council nor employees of the town. The Nova Scotia Police Act, Section 5C, states that 1 member will be appointed by the Minister of the Department of Justice. Currently, there is 1 vacancy for a council-appointed resident and 1 vacancy for a ministerial appointment. At the last Kentville Board of Commissions meeting on January the 17th, 2025, the following motion was passed, that the board recommend Penny Hart as the citizen representative to the Kentville Board of Police Commissions. So following the unanimous passage of this motion, the Board of Police Commissions requests that council appoint Penny Hart to the board.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hamilton. So the motion would read that the board recommend Penny Hart as the citizen representative for the Kentville Board of Police Commissioners. Or council, sorry, that council. Someone could move that?
I'll say, sorry, for a 2-year term.
Okay, let's do that again. So we're gonna say that the board,
Ending in January 2020.
all right, hold on, represent to the council.
It's a 2-year term, but it can be a 4-year term.
Do you want that wording in the motion?
Because you can do a second term.
That's not automatic.
Yeah, you still have to be reappointed, right? You have to be reappointed, yeah. So the motion would read that the board recommend to council Penny Hart as the citizen representative to the Kentville Board of Police Commissioners for a 2-year term ending in January 2027. Someone could move that? Oh, you moved it already, right? Councillor Savage, and you were the seconder, right? Councillor Hamilton. Is there any discussion on that? Hold on. Go ahead.
And so just some clarity around the reappointment after 2 years. So I'm brand new on this committee of, or the police commission. So if the person wants to go for another 2 years, is that then brought back to council? It's brought back to council. So they have the option of asking to renew or not asking to renew. CAO?
Yes.
Yes, and the deputy clerk and I have been talking about prioritizing committees of council and even renewal terms. There's a couple of points that you generally see. You generally see 2 years, and you can be reappointed for a 2-year term, but after 4 years, you have to go out to seek applications. Also, if we're starting a new committee, we'd like to see some changes so that for the initial appointment, you would have a split between a 2-year appointment and potentially a 3-year appointment. And then when the renewals come up, you don't have a continuous, and something like that will be worded very clearly that for the initial appointment, it's for 3, and then every time after that, it's 2. But we need to do some, we need to strengthen that up, and we would like to move that up in the priority list to get it looked at. Is that, I've said we, so I'll look for the nod.
So that's presumably then something that we would look at when we're looking at our strategic priorities?
I believe that this has been an issue that has caused some angst for council over the past number of years. It would just be nice to have clarity around it. There's certainly enough examples out there that we can look at to mold, but the generally you see where you see a 2-year appointment, a renewal for 2 years, and then you would not be eligible to sit in the committee for the next term unless there were no other applications when you advertised, and then council could revisit. And you're also seeing more and more that when a new committee is struck, the initial appointment is staggered, so that when you have renewals to the committee, it's not the whole committee leaving and new members coming in, so you don't have that large-scale orientation session. So
Okay, that's great. Wise, thank you.
Thanks, CAO. Councillor Hamilton. Oh, okay. Guess there's no more discussion. Are you ready for the question? That the board recommends to Council Penny Hart as a citizen representative to the Kentville Board of Police Commissioners for a 2-year term ending in January 2027.
That council approved.
That-
The council approved the appointment.
Okay. That the, oh, yes, sorry, I got that written down wrong. That Council recommend, Penny, Council approve. We're not recommending anymore. That Council approve Penny Hart as a citizen representative to the Kentville Board of Police Commissioners for a 2-year term ending in January 2027. We got it. So we'll go to voting now. Councillor Savage.
Yes.
Councillor Andrew.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Yes.
Councillor Baker.
Yes.
Councillor Hamilton.
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell.
Yes.
And I say yes, the motion is carried. We're now moving on to correspondence, and we don't have any I see here. We'll move on to public comments now. I'll invite anybody to come up and speak if they wish. You have 3 minutes at the podium.
Hi,
Hi.
my name's Rachel Creaser. I teach and live in Kentville. I'm here to speak about the Diversity and Belonging Task Team and why it's important for them to become a committee. I think I would like to start just by saying, when you make a task team, especially one that includes people that are equity owed, and they come, they volunteer their time, and they do a lot of hard work, and then they can't do anything. This is why, this simple reason is the reason why you need to make them a committee, because these are citizens of your town that need their voices heard. And I heard a few things tonight, like we need to get, community feedback, right? How are we getting community feedback from everyone in our community right now, when not all of us can get up the stairs in the same way, not all of us listen in the same way, not all of us see in the same way? I think it's really important that no matter what, if you look into all the other towns, even if we're leading the way, it's at a snail's pace for people that are equity owed. And I think if you want Kentville to be an inviting place for all, where everyone feels that they belong, then you have to make this decision to make this task team a committee to council. And if I may be so bold, if I got to choose, I would make a member of the kayak or this committee, if it's developed, on every committee, because everything involves equity, right? You can't always see or understand what people need, whether it's the water committee or the police or whatever you've talked about tonight. You can't see how the decisions being made affect me and my family, just as I can't see how they affect you and your family or everyone in this room that is different. So gathering citizens together that have different views and a different way of seeing the town and understanding how it feels to live here, I think would benefit everyone, and that Kentville could really lead the way if this happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Any other public comments?
I don't know if this is the time, can I bring that up, but I talked to you just a short few minutes. I'd like to, I want to bring up the
Could you
homeless
just,
here.
yeah,
Oh,
could you just state your name first?
Oh,
and
Floyd
yeah.
Caldwell.
Okay.
Bring up the homeless here in the town. I only have a few minutes here, there's not enough time to speak. I got 15 years' experience on the streets of Halifax and this town here. I've walked the streets of this town for the last 7 years at night. I know the issue on the town more than anybody does, okay? And the people that are out there, you have an issue in the town where right now, I just want to point out to, and I've talked to Member Baker here earlier, you have in this situation in this town, you used to have you have a municipal problem that your hands are tied. Because right now the province is in control of solving this issue in Kentville, and the job is not being done. I'm working behind the scenes to try and find out what I can do to get this situation fixed here, but I just want to bring to council is that you have a municipal problem that your hands are tied because it is now being handled by the province. And it's something you really need to look at because it is your problem. And it's very easy to fix in the town. I guess 3 minutes, that's not enough time to cover everything, of course, but I thought I'd bring it up I'm available for the information that I have, 15 years experience working directly with these people. They talk to me. I know all of the information, what's going on the street, and I'd like for the council to know it so we can fix this town. Because it's very easy fix. I have all of the experience in this area, and I'm willing to offer it to this town to help get this situation fixed. Okay, I'd just like to offer that to council.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, go.
Hi, my name is Kathy Ann Browning Johnson, and I'm a member of the task team that you have been speaking about. I just want to echo the support for what Rachel Creaser has also said. We've been doing a lot of work, but we kind of also feel like our hands are tied. If you're waiting to see what other towns are doing, I'm not sure why. I think the time is now. It's like it just seems to be put off. Let's wait and see instead of doing what we already know needs to be done. I'll keep it at that.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Saeed Akwande. I'm a member of Kayak and also member of our Diversity Belonging Task Team. I just want to echo to what my two colleagues just said. If you want to look at the reflection of what these teams have been doing, part of it was the community engagement that they did before the election of the new candidates. So they've been having different community engagement that can see the town itself, that the town is ready for diversity. So this is the way we can easily let the community know that this sitting council is ready for diversity and inclusion. So if we make them a committee, it's going to be something that is encouraging. It can encourage the committee, the tax team itself, to do more, right? Not to go back to Kayak before the information can get to the council. They should be able to get the information, get across to the council itself, so that they can get encouraged and do more for the town. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments? Well, that concludes the end of our business of this meeting. Council has confidential legal and land matters that they must discuss in a closed session. If I could get a motion to go into a closed session. Councillor Savage and Deputy Mayor Kroll is the seconder. All those in favor? All right, thank you very much. Time is 7:22.